Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night.
Officials and newsmen at first discounted those eyewitness descriptions as being beyond belief. However, the reports persisted.
Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Boogeyman Radio. I am Dave.
I am Charles.
I get my directions mixed up when I look at my camera screen.
I'm over here. It's fine.
He's over there. Oh, fuck,
He's over there.
No, I didn't. I had it wrong.
I didn't move it, I promise.
You quit moving on me, man.
I know, it's horrible, right?
Hope everybody is having a great week. Thanksgiving's this weekend, this week, guys.
It's weird.
I'm not really doing anything this year.
I've got to work and then go see my folks.
You got to work on Thanksgiving?
I have to work. For the last 7 years, I've had to work Thanksgiving every single day. From 9:30 to about 4 o'clock, 3 or 4 o'clock.
I want to say that sucks, but in retrospect, I mean, to me personally, like, Thanksgiving's not a holiday. It's just a day to get together with family.
It's more of, it's family gathering. It's just that time of year. It's an excuse to get together, get fat, eat some great food, and be thankful. But I wouldn't say it's necessarily a holiday, because what people are actually like, oh my God, Thanksgiving, compared to, oh my God, Halloween, oh my God, Christmas. Like, you know.
Yeah. And honestly, Columbus wasn't the guy that founded America. It was the Vikings. We talked about that on another show. You can catch it in our archives. But like, yeah, this holiday is just not for me, you know. Like,
it's a foodie holiday.
Yeah. Yes.
That's why a lot of people, like, they're like, you know what, I can do Christmas music now that Halloween's over, and some are like, no, we haven't even got to Thanksgiving yet. And it's like, I can see arguments of both sides of the story. Like with Halloween, you want to celebrate Halloween so far in advance.
Right.
Like I do. I want to celebrate Halloween all the time, but you know,
yeah,
it's not a thing for some people, but for me it is. So I can see why people are like, oh my God, Christmas, like right after Halloween. Like, I'll accept that. I will come to the middle ground and be like, okay, Christmas music is acceptable a week after Halloween.
I tend to celebrate like Halloween like for a week after a little bit.
Yes.
You know, keep watching some,
because you're still in that vibe. You're still in that. Yeah, exactly. You're still in that high.
But Thanksgiving, it's just another day. But actually, anymore, I start thinking about the Vikings and stuff, like, you know, their travels to America instead of Christopher Columbus. And I'm going to teach my daughter that. Let her know, like, hey, this is fake. I mean,
don't be indoctrinated.
Yeah. So
this is the man.
So yeah, you get to work and on the holiday and all that good stuff.
Which, I mean, it's not too bad. Like, it's pretty easy. I got to bartend, served a bunch of mimosas and Bloody Marys, and call it good throughout the day. Like, it'll be fine. I'll be fine. And then I get to go spend time with my folks afterwards. So.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Plus side, you get to see family.
Exactly. What's up, Kelly? I'm excited either way. The day I'm not excited for is the day after Thanksgiving.
Word.
It's a big family kids day at my work, so it's going to be lots and lots of people coming up for that's when we do our Christmas lights for my work. So basically we pick one kid, gets to turn on the Christmas lights, and they have like an arts and crafts station upstairs and get to watch a movie, which I think it's going to be The Grinch this year. But so it's an interesting night, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then December is just crazy. But anyways,
something cool did happen this week, though. This past weekend.
What happened?
Well, our favorite place. Well, you got to investigate with.
I got to investigate with Austin and Justin at the Garnett House.
How'd that go, real quick?
Oh, geez, man. Okay, so far there has yet to be a day that I haven't had something, or like, that I've been there that hasn't, like, geez, let me restart that. Just having a stroke here. Yeah, having a stroke. I just can't talk. Every time I've been there, which has been 3 times, something has happened. Always does.
Right.
It's crazy. Like, so, I'm 3 for 3 on activity happening. Now, when I went there with you, it wasn't crazy, but we still had some things happen.
Yeah.
Like, physical things happen. Doors opening, random, like, sound manifestation. So this was the craziest thing to me. Obviously not, the balls did happen, but that wasn't even the craziest thing. We were in that, like, gathering room, kind of where, like, a lot of people tend to put their equipment at, not the other doctor's office or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We were standing around there just kind of talking, and we hear an audible male voice that does not sound like any of us. So it was myself, Justin, Austin, and Gary, and this voice just sounded completely different. So that threw me for a loop. What's up, Cassie? And then I'm trying to think what else happened. We totally caught this on camera. Like, you don't see it where it comes from, but you know where those little those toy blocks that sits on the, like, one of the archways. So upstairs where the attic room is, or that's the attic room, and then the closet right there. Well, above the closet door, the closet doorway, there's apparently a wooden block that was sitting up there.
Oh, okay.
And it flew off and landed on the floor, like, away from the door. Like, it was in front of the ladder.
Huh.
Like, it moved considerably, and I actually had Spurrier go back and check it. I need to check with him if he has that. But you clearly see it, like, you don't see it fall from where it comes from, but you see it scurry across the floor. Totally by itself. Nobody was in that room. So, but here's the thing also, too, and then I wish... somebody was coming up the stairs at the same time. So I was wondering maybe vibration from it. But here's the thing. Lots of people have come up the stairs several times. Nothing has happened. Dolls weren't even falling. Balls weren't moving. Nothing was happening except that cube flew across halfway of the room. Interesting, right? Yeah. But I will say we were also downstairs in I think I was in the kitchen / whatever it's called. We heard a loud thud come from upstairs. We were all downstairs. And I immediately just go, like, well, let's go upstairs and check. And the Robin Williams Mork doll was on the ground, like 2 feet away from the bookshelf that it was, like, actually sitting on. And it's where most of the, not most of the dolls, but I can never remember what room it is. It's the farthest room to the back left from the stairs. When you come up the stairs, it's not that immediate room right in front of you. It's the one to the left. Yeah, he was like 2 feet away from the shelf, so, like, he actually fell forward quite a bit.
Right on.
So yeah, it was pretty cool. I had a lot of movement, disembodied voices. It was really neat. And I checked with Austin how the rest of the investigation went, and he said that the activities seemed to enhance as each night went by. So the second and third night, like, was even better than the first night. So I was like, all right, well, that's dope, dude. I can't wait to see what you find. Or, like, what you have for your film that he's doing.
There's been a lot of activity going on at the Garnett house. And if you didn't know, this also happened at the Garnett house.
Oh, yeah. This is the music video. We're going to get copyright stricken.
You want to do the wrongest to try to come at who's the wonderful one or two to punish. You don't want to be the 100th to put a gun at you. You can't let everyone step foot in your house, more so in your life.
Why you really knocking at my door?
Don't let that energy near you.
Oh,
yeah.
Pause it. Anyway,
don't want to get.
I don't want to play too much of it. I'm not going to play too much of it because we're on Facebook and it'll get. But so that happened at Garnett. Justin and them got to partake in the music video as well. And in fact, Justin just posted a picture of his makeup.
It looks awesome.
They did a great job on their makeup.
Dude, this whole video, like, if you're an Evil Dead fan, it will give you major Evil Dead vibes. They go with the Sam Raimi camera movements, everything. It looks so good.
This was Justin's makeup right here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Him and Austin, and there was somebody else that was there. But yeah, it looked good. The video looked good. Song's actually pretty good. Took me a couple listens before I started getting into it, but I was like, you know what, this is all right. This works. But yeah, that was cool. Cool that happened. And also, real quick, if I don't think he's watching right now, but if he catches this later, Austin, happy birthday, man! Sorry I couldn't be there for the for your birthday, but it sounded like it went really well. Real quick before we get started, guys, if you've noticed the shirts that we're wearing, Charles has got.
I kind of like yours more, though. I think I kind of like yours more, though.
Charles is wearing our Boogeyman Radio shirt. If you guys like that, or you like this one, the It's Not Paranormal, It's Paratainment shirt, you can stop on our store, hauntinghistory.threadless.com. You can get these shirts and more. And every purchase helps us out here on the show. So there's that little nugget. So if you want to visit it, please do so and get you some awesome merch.
Speaking of haunted things, I feel like we need to do a investigation for the channel sometime soon.
Like a live stream?
Yes. Live stream, something.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah, whether it be like July, February, or later, I don't care. Yeah. That's the slow season for me, so that'd be the best time to go do anything is January or February. I didn't mean to say July. Ugh.
We'll get something figured out. That'll be cool. Pretty cool. Also, I do want to note one other thing that we've kind of briefly talked about. I think we should just go ahead and do it. We're gonna move the channel.
Oh yes.
We've got another channel that we do, but it's a bigger channel. We're going to move Boogeyman Radio over there. Should be able to, once I delete this one, change the web address back to Boogeyman Radio. So,
yeah, it's just, which that's the thing is like if you still are subscribed, well, I guess if you're technically subscribing to a new one, but either way, we'll send it all out. Like, we'll get you guys right now before we just jump over.
Right now, it's our reaction channel called Two Drunk Fucks, where we drink and we watch stuff and react. But we're going to convert that over to the Boogeyman Radio channel. So if you guys want to jump over to there, it's number 2 Drunk and FUX. And that's where you can catch the future Boogeyman Radios.
That's right.
I'll probably
that means I can go down to only one Twitch now. Thank God.
Yeah, I'm going to do the switch between this show and next week.
Oh, okay. Cool.
We'll get that switch done, and that's where you guys will be able to find the show. So if you're not here live right now, then guess what?
Sucks to suck.
You missed out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what's going on for next week. But you guys came here for the Salem witch trials, so that's what we're gonna do. In 1689, English monarchs William and Mary started a war with France in the American colonies. Known as King William's War to Colonists, the conflict ravaged regions of upstate New York, Nova Scotia, and Quebec, sending refugees into the county of Essex, and, specifically, Salem Village, in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. The displaced people placed a strain on Salem's resources, aggravating the existing rivalry between families with ties to the wealth of the port of Salem and those who still depended on agriculture. Controversy also brewed over the Reverend Samuel Parris, who became Salem Village's first ordained minister and quickly gained a reputation for his rigid ways and greedy nature. The Puritan villagers believed that all of the quarreling was the work of the devil. All right.
I will say too, don't forget that a lot of these people were refugees from the Indian Wars as well.
Yes.
The Indian Wars played a huge toll on a lot of these refugees in Salem and just around Massachusetts in general. So there was a sense of distrust amongst a lot of people. So it was a hard time for a lot of people in Americas.
Oh yeah. So to understand the events of the Salem witch trials, it's necessary to examine like the times in which the accusations of witchcraft occurred. I mean, there was ordinary stresses of 17th century life. You know, you're farming. You know, there was obviously around that time there was a strong belief in the devil. Factions among the Salem village families and rivals with nearby Salem town, combined with the recent smallpox epidemic, and the like you were mentioning in the Indian Wars, the threat of attack by tribes, warring tribes. So there was a lot of fear and suspicion going around. Prisons were being filled up.
Well, and let's not. I mean, we can't forget to mention all the witch trials that took place over in Europe that I know people definitely knew about over in the colonies. Well, I guess it wasn't even the colonies yet, but that they that they knew of, but at that time. Yeah. So hearing about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of these people came from there during these times, even.
Yeah.
When witch trials were going on, and
that's pretty much.
So just think of like all the hysteria, and you try to place yourself in that time, like just hearing the whispers behind your back, like being wrongly accused for a crime you didn't commit, being tried and then hanged. Try to picture that. I mean, that's what life is like. You had to be on your toes then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's just not. Which we'll get into details later. But you were constantly tortured too. If you were pretty much, accused, you were tortured unless otherwise.
Yeah. And based on that, the courts during that time, they function completely different than ones that we have today. And they allowed the inclusion of spectral evidence. And spectral evidence was when the witness would testify that the accused person's spirit or spectral shape appeared to him or her in a dream at the time, and that their physical body was at another location. Because of this evidence, quotes, the 19 people were hanged and one man was pressed to death during the trials. Yeah. So,
well, I mean, it's stupid. Literally, only the accusers would see it. And there was actually a good example. I can't think of which lady it was, but they were on trial in the court, and the accusers were claiming that the specter or the ghost of the accused was messing with them and injuring them right there in the courtroom. And then she was proven guilty and then hanged.
Well, yeah, and there was somebody else. Don't remember which one it was. You might have the information, but one of them was having fits in the courtroom. Like these fits were part of what stemmed at the beginning of this. Like they just called it fits, but a lot of doctors nowadays would probably call it seizures or just acting.
That's in my time of doing research. That's honestly what all this reminded me of, was just a bunch of young girls acting and basically accusing people of something, and it went way too far, and it carried into something that just got swept off of its feet, and they just couldn't stop.
Now, we do have to say though, like this whole thing, like all these people that died from witch trials, it wasn't all about like the acting that was going on from other people. Right. Like there were some medical problems that were going on, which we'll talk about later. But I mean, it just combined into this big heap of shit, better or worse. Like you had this, and then you had this, and then that got put together, and this occurred, and just lumped it all together as one thing.
Well, I do have a little bit on the beginning where it wasn't really necessarily anybody accusing specific people of witchcraft, but it actually goes along with Abigail and Betty Paris, which is the daughters of Samuel Paris.
Yeah.
They were actually playing a fortune-telling game where they would crack open an egg and like you could see the yolk or something from it in water and it would tell you something. Well, shortly after they did this, they actually started, like, they claimed to being bitten, scratched, pinched, spun around in circles, and even when he would have sermons, they would call out and like yell during his sermons.
Yeah.
So people just thought that it was just witchcraft. That was the only explanation they could think of, was it was just witchcraft. So,
and one of the strangest things that they supposedly did was that they were also contorting into strange positions.
Yeah, which that's weird, right?
Yeah, it's normal for a little girl.
Yeah.
She has a future in the circus.
Eventually, it's actually spread from Abigail and Betty and went on to a couple girls. They are named Ann Putnam and Abigail Williams. They're the first two that really like blamed specific people.
And Abigail Williams was actually the niece of the priest or whatever his name.
Yeah,
they call it the Reverend. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was his
Reverend Paris.
Yeah, and a local doctor actually blamed it on the supernatural. So, thank God we have doctors that actually aren't superstitious.
Oh yeah. Well, so along with Abigail Williams, you had Titupa. I can't think of her name exactly, but she was the servant of what?
Tituba. Yeah.
Okay, she was the servant of Reverend Paris, and she was on trial. She and during her trial, she confessed of signing in blood and doing witchcraft, and then she did see two other names, and one of them was Sarah Good. Well, some are thinking that the only reason why this lady stepped up and said anything was because if you gave names, if you confessed that you were doing witchcraft, what witchcraft you were doing, and gave names of who else was doing witchcraft, you were spared. You were automatically spared. It was like well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, mostly, if you gave names and said who it was, you were pretty much good to go. Because all the people that actually died, they didn't really give any names. They were just unfortunate souls who couldn't couldn't say what they did. They refused to say anything about if they actually participated in witchcraft, which is how that one person died. The gentleman who was crushed, which you'll go into that. So that's just crazy. But the bad thing, so Sarah Good, she was actually pregnant when she was in jail. So they couldn't execute her. They wouldn't execute a pregnant woman. Yeah. But when she had her kid in jail. The infant died in jail, and then they hung Sarah Good not too long after.
It makes you wonder. I kind of wonder how she got pregnant, because some of the readings that literature I've read, she was supposed to be a homeless beggar, basically.
Supposed to be. Well, she also had another daughter that was 5 years old, and she
wonder if she
was in jail. It was Dorothy Good.
Prostitution.
Maybe, but Sarah was hung on July 19th, and Dorothy, her 5-year-old daughter who was in jail, became an orphan. So that tells you anything about that. And
then there was Sarah Osborne, the other name.
Sarah Osborne, yep. She was... Which, if you have stuff on her, go for it. If you have anything about her.
I just know that she was an elderly woman, which a lot of these people seem to be. They were kind of up there in age, especially for the time and era. But all three women, they were brought before the local magistrates and interrogated for several days, starting on March 1st of 1692. Osborne claimed innocence, as did Good. Yeah. But like you said, Tituba confessed, and she actually said that the devil came to her and bid her to serve him. and she described elaborate images of black dogs, red cats, yellow birds, and a tall man with white hair who wanted her to sign his book. Maybe he was a fan. I'm a fan of your work. Please sign it. She admitted that she signed the book and claimed there were several other witches looking to destroy the Puritans. So, with the seeds of paranoia planted, a stream of accusations followed over the next few months, and more people were charged.
You know, and it makes you think, was she tortured into saying this?
You know, if she was a servant coming from the Caribbean, I'm guessing she was black.
No, she was.
She probably was beaten and tortured. I don't think
she was a servant of the Reverend Paris. So
yeah, she would not have been treated as good as
the girls claimed that she affected them.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure she felt the wrath of the Reverend, and I'm sure she got it while she was in jail.
Yep. You know? I'll talk about Mr. Proctor here a little bit, which I'll kind of jump around with him here as we go and talk about stuff. But before the Proctors, though, there was also a 71-year-old church-going lady who was loved in the community. Her name was Rebecca Nurse. Yes. And what's important about the Nurse family is her family and the Putnams, which, if you guys remember, one of the girls' names was Ann Putnam, which is the accuser. Her father's name was Thomas Putnam, and they had land disputes going on for many years now. And
similarity there, right, with the land disputes with the Bellwood stuff. And
I was just thinking of that too, as you said that. Nice. Yeah. So, so some people think that Thomas Putnam encouraged these girls to blame Rebecca Nurse. To accuse Rebecca Nurse for a bunch of this stuff because they were naming names of people that they wouldn't necessarily know who to name specifically, and it just seemed like specific people they were naming was more of a like kind of hush kind of thing, but not hush. A lot of these people that were killed were actually involved, good church going people, good people in the community.
Oh yeah.
So it's interesting that several of them were killed. So. Most of the accusers, they were I think the oldest one was 16. So they were between I want to say 11 years old to 16. And this gentleman and his wife, so it's John Proctor and Elizabeth Proctor, had a servant named Mary Warren. Mary Warren started to have fits and started acting out and stuff like all these other girls. Well, John Proctor wasn't taking any of it. He didn't care. He said, I'm going to beat the devil out of her. And he did. He took a stick and beat the crap out of her, which I'm not advocating for violence here. She became back to normal, right? Funny how that works. And she actually wrote a note on the meeting house claiming that the accusers were lying. But and then the girls turned on her and were like, well, you're a witch. You know what I mean? They immediately turned on her. And then to save her life from accusations, she accused John and Elizabeth Proctor. Now, there was a movie, I can't think of what it was called, or it was a play, where it made John Proctor as more of a man in his 30s, and he had an affair with Mary and all this kind of stuff. Well, in real life, John was actually in his 60s. So he was an older man. I think he was on his third wife, which was Elizabeth. And I think she was actually pregnant, maybe? I can't remember. Don't quote me on that one. So Mary blamed them, but then some people in their writings, they thought John may have had was a little not affected, but maybe had a soft side for Mary, but
yeah,
you never know.
Kelly asks, so if you held a grudge against someone, you accuse them of witchcraft, wouldn't people see through that? Yes and no.
You would think, but
part of the problem was with the Puritans, they thought that the devil actually walked among them. And they had an absurd fear over the devil. It was it was almost like cult status. You know what I mean? Like it's unreal the level of fear that they had over this. And then not only was there a lot of begrudging going on, there was a lot of so a lot of the women that I seen, or several of the women, were widows or remarried several times. In fact, let's see here. Like some of the lesser known women, like one of them, Alice Parker, she like there's almost nothing about her that you can find on. And if it wasn't for the court records for the witch trials, people wouldn't even know who she was.
Well, and here's the thing: there's a reason why you can't find a lot of information on people, because the government tried to cover it up.
Yeah,
the local officials tried to cover all this up.
So with the sparse records, the records indicated that she was older. However, her exact age was not specified. She was married to a fisherman named John Parker, and the couple rented a home in the Salem Harbor waterfront. While her husband had children from a previous marriage, she appears to have had none of her own. But beyond that information, and just based on trial testimony, it seems she was forthright and aggressive in her speech, as neighbors claimed she bewitched them and recited stories of her predictions. And then you had this lady, Anne Pud Eater. Again, records revealed nothing about her early life. However, according to Salem.org, they were able to trace her to Falmouth, Maine, where she lived with her first husband, Thomas Greenslet, and their 5 children. And then around 1677, they moved to Salem, where Thomas died shortly after their arrival. So then she was a widow, and Anne supported herself as a midwife and nurse. And then she got hired by blacksmith Jacob Pud Eater to look after his alcoholic wife, Isabel. So then Isabel died, most likely from the drink. And Anne married Jacob shortly thereafter. So, and Anne was 20 years older than him. So good for her.
Yeah, going after a youngin'.
And then, again, community gossip started whispering of foul play. Then Jacob died in 1682. And at this time, Anne was 60 years old, and she was wealthy. She was a wealthy widow. And, of course, the gossip got worse. I mean, you had 2 husbands pass away, and then one of your husband's wives before you passed away that you were looking after. So there's 3 people that in your care has passed away. But much like Alice Parker, by 1692, and she was 70 years old, or Alice Parker was 70 years old, was already surrounded by scandal and was an easy target for witchcraft, or the accusation of witchcraft. So, a lot of these people, they just seem to have this particular background. And I think this is probably where the wicked old witch comes in, because a lot of these women were older women, 60, 70.
Yeah.
Widows.
Well, yeah, absolutely. If you look horrible, but they'd be like, "You're a witch." But anyways,
or you just had like really messed up past, like, oh, all these people died around you, or
you're suspicious. So
wait, you're dying too, and your partner died. That's suspicious.
Right. But the first one that actually died was Bridget Bishop.
Mm-hmm.
She was the one that I was saying where during her trial, the girls began acting out and proclaimed that they were being attacked by her spirit or her ghost while in the courtroom, and that is what pretty much was like, all right, well, you're gonna die. How dare you bring this into the courthouse? You're just then pretty much take her out and go kill her. And that was when the townsfolk were kind of like, okay, maybe this whole evidence thing isn't really that good. So let's get with the church and figure out, like, this is the church in Massachusetts. Like, I think it was Boston or somewhere. I can't remember where they went. But they went there and the church reviewed everything, and they're like, well, yeah, we don't really like this kind of like evidence that you're doing, but we know there's witches, so go ahead and continue. And keep going and keep doing what you're doing. So they had the blessing of the church after this first death. So it was pretty much fair game afterwards, which sucked.
Here's a little more information about like the whole bishop thing. So on May 27th of 1692, Governor William Phipps ordered the establishment of a special court of oyer and terminer to hear and to decide is what those mean for Suffolk, Essex, and Middlesex counties. The first accused was Bridget Bishop, an older woman. She was known for her gossipy habits and promiscuity. So, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people did not like her. You probably slept with my husband.
You're a witch!
When she was asked if she committed witchcraft, she responded by saying, I'm as innocent as the child unborn. And I guess her defense must not have been convincing because she was found guilty and hung on what's later called the Gallows Hill. But I found this interesting. Just a few days after the court was established, there was a minister by the name of Cotton Mather who wrote a letter imploring the court to not allow spectral evidence. You know, I kind of defined that earlier, which was like testimonies about dreams and visions. The court ignored this request, and in the sentencing, the hangings of 5 people in July, 5 more in August, and 8 in September. And then
I have more information on Cotton Mather, which I'll get into here in a little bit.
Okay. And then on October 3rd, following in his son Cotton's footsteps, Increase Mather, then president of Harvard, denounced the use of spectral evidence, saying it were better that 10 suspected witches should escape than 1 innocent person be condemned. And he was right. He was right.
So William Stoughton was the judge of all these proceedings. He was the one that was in charge of all of this. And that judge allowed for huge crowds to be at the courtrooms. So it became more of a spectator sport to watch the trials, and that actually encouraged the accusers to act out more and sell the idea of witchcraft and craziness. So it encouraged the girls that were afflicted to say and play things up. The word spread the word did spread that if you confessed. So this spread out not just in Salem, but it spread out to the whole like state of Massachusetts by this point. Like, all these people were being accused left and right. Paranoia ensued the entire state. So basically your only chance, if you were accused, you had to confess what you did, what kind of witchcraft it was, and name other people. That was your only chance of possible survival.
Right.
So it spread more paranoia, more violence. People were turning on each other left and right. Families were forced to go after each other.
They even turned on animals too. 2 dogs.
They
were the devil.
Yep. Wild, I know. So on July 19th, 5 people were hanged. Rebecca Nurse, she was finally hanged. And then by this time, the jails were just receiving people in record amount. The jails were just being overly booked. Like, it couldn't really contain everyone. They were busting out the seams. So,
and this is where politics starts to come in. But I'll let you continue.
Well, let's go ahead and get into it, because I'm gonna talk about Proctor and his wife, and go from there. What are you gonna say?
This. In Governor Phipps, I guess his own wife was being suspected as a witch. And because of, I assume because of this, and not so much because of the pleas of the ministers who were writing him, he prohibited further arrests and released many of the accused witches. He dissolved the court in October, replacing it with a superior court of judicature, which disallowed spectral evidence and condemned just 3 out of 56 defendants.
Mm-hmm. And that, before all that happened, the Proctors were in jail, and specific thinking, I don't know why, they thought iron could contain evil and witches and horrible things. Right. So all these people were shackled in iron. So they just lived with iron. So Elizabeth, she was in jail. Her son was tortured, which was William Proctor. He was 16. He was tortured into basically saying yes or no, which I don't think he did confess. But the way that they tortured him was they put him in a fetal position and tied a rope around his neck and his legs, and basically just tightened it till the blood came out of his nose. Yeah, so it was pretty bad. John Proctor wrote a petition to the church stating that the courts are rushing the judgment and that torture is being used with confession, so they're getting easy confession with the torture. He asked for a new magistrate and that they move the trials to Boston. Clearly his petition failed, sadly. So on the day of his hanging, he had to watch 4 other people be hanged first. He was part of the 5 people that were hanged in one day. He had to watch 4 other people be hanged first. Before him, there was a man named George Burroughs. He was a minister, and he was innocent as all get out. And he got on the ladder and started reciting the Lord's Prayer. Now, to these country folk, these people, when someone who's being accused of witchcraft starts reciting the Lord's Prayer, they immediately start thinking, oh my God, he can't be a witch. He's reciting the Lord's Prayer. There's no way. So there was a moment of them trying to free him, but then the man, Cotton Mather, tells the crowd that the prayer is a trick, that it's a ploy of Satan.
Oh, Lord.
And they proceed with the execution and kill the guy.
Oh, my God.
So,
I wonder if he
not
felt
long after that. What?
I wonder if he felt guilty about that, and that's why he started writing the letters.
Probably. That's why I was saying, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So, but then, so Mr. Proctor was hanged. Now, we didn't really talk about these style of hangings. These style of hangings back in the day were not designed to break their neck. This was the ultimate suffering hanging. This is where your air pipes were completely cut off. You would be shaking on the rope and stuff. And a lot of people thought that shaking, or I don't know what they call it,
the twitch,
specific things. Yeah, but when your body was twitching, that was the devil leaving your body. That was the demons leaving your body. So, I know, weird, right?
Man.
But it was rumored that Proctor's family actually came out after he was killed and dug up his body and buried it somewhere else on their property. So, and I want to kind of go into this because we kind of, on September 22nd, there were more witches that were hanged. By the late October, the governor stood in and he shut down everything. And then he actually apologized. And I think Ann Putnam, one of the first girls that accused anybody, she apologized years later too. So she realized, okay, yeah, that was not good. But then something else I want to say too before we get into it. Yeah. There was a documentary that was either filmed or released back in 2017. And the point of this documentary was to shed more of true light on what actually happened with the Salem witch trials, and to find, if they could, where the actual hanging site happened.
Yes.
Which they did.
Yes.
So thankfully, from the account of one girl, I can't think of what her name was, but because of what she said in her writing, where she was outside, she was in a house,
Described.
looking out the window, and she could see the people being hanged down the hill, or just at the house, just at the bottom of the hill. She could see the people being hanged on the hill. They found the actual place, and I'm going to share it here real quick.
Yeah. Wasn't it in somebody's backyard or something like that? Like the
kind of. They call it Proctor's Ledge Memorial. So we share it here. So this is approximately where this white dot is, where it's at. Now the main road of the town, because this kind of goes uphill right here.
Yeah.
The house where the young lady would have been to see them getting hanged would have been like over in here off the main street.
Yeah.
So she would have seen that from somewhere in this area right here. Now I'll show you a little bit better pictures of the actual memorial. So that's the hillside that they would have been hung on. So they would have been hung somewhere on this little ridge right here from some tree. But some of the stones they put in are the people that were hanged there in memorials. So you have John Proctor, George, Martha, Reverend George Burroughs, John Willard, Martha Corey, Mariette Easty. So it's cool that they found the actual spot, and this is what the hillside would have looked like back in the day. Would have been like right here.
Yep.
So they would have been hung somewhere like right in here with some, so just wanted to make sure we share light on that, but it was interesting.
So you were talking about like all the, some people kind of apologizing and everything. And in the years that followed the trials, Judge Sewell, Ann Putnam, they confessed error and guilt. In 1697, the Massachusetts General Court ordered a day of fasting and soul searching over the whole tragedy of Salem. In 1702, the court declared the trials unlawful. And in 1711, the colony passed a bill restoring the rights and good names of many of the accused, as well as granting a total of £600 in restitution to their heirs. But it wasn't until 1957 that Massachusetts formally apologized for the events of 1692. And Johnson and the accused women were exonerated in July of 2022, so this year. Because they were left out of the resolution in 1957 for some unknown reasons. They didn't get pardoned or whatever. But a lot of scientists started looking into, possible reasons for a lot of the behaviors and stuff. And one of the hypotheses that was brought up, and it's viewed as fringe, especially from some historical circles, they thought that the accusers must have suffered from ergotism, which is a condition caused by eating foods contaminated with the fungus ergot. A lot of the symptoms include muscle spasms, vomiting, delusions, and hallucinations. Other theories emphasize a combination of church politics, family feuds, and hysterical children, all of which unfolded in a vacuum of political authority, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica. But, when you look at each individual case, let's say the ergot fungus is a rational explanation for some of the behaviors, like some of the symptoms that these kids and people were displaying. I think with all the rumors that were just going around town about everybody, the gossip and everything, just kind of allowed people to freely convict or accuse people without any repercussion. Because I don't remember reading anything about an accuser who was wrong and got, punished. So I think yeah, there was church politics, definitely. There was political things going on, like within our own government with it. Like I said, the governor didn't stop the arrests and stuff until his wife was being accused. So it was like, where do we draw the line on that? You know?
Yeah.
It was definitely a lesson.
Let everyone suffer first.
Yeah. It was definitely a lesson to be learned, I think, out of all of that.
Well, to me, I'll talk about it in the After Dark because I don't want to put it out there for everyone. But how a lot of these people acted, common folk, how the common folk acted during this with mass hysteria, panic, not fully knowing and understanding what's actually going on.
Yeah.
And started blaming each other. That kind of reminded me about some stuff today.
Well, yeah.
That not too long ago, within a year or two span.
People will people. That's what people do. But yeah, guys, I mean, like, there's a lot more to this whole situation, I think, than what meets the eye and what historical accounts, you know, you can read certain things, but like to just kind of know and put yourself in those positions of like what the daily life is like and everything, that's taking it a step further. And I think that with a lot of these incidents throughout history and even current times, we can all kind of take a page out of that book and just kind of step away from what we're reading or seeing on TV, put ourselves in that situation, or objectively looking at the situation and trying to figure out why something is happening or why somebody is saying certain things. Not to get too political with it, but you know, it does. Politics is a highly volatile thing right now, and that's kind of falling down the line with the Salem witch trials. You know, you're trying not to say it, but people will people, and they will say things and do things, whether it's right or wrong, just to make their point.
Guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, it's happening today. You'd think we'd learn our lesson, but no.
You'd think.
No.
History repeats itself every day.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
So one of the weird things, and guys, I'm gonna save this for the After Dark. One of the craziest ones is the whole pressing that happened during the witch trials. If you want to catch us on the After Dark, we are going to be talking. I will talk about the pressing of Giles Corey. We're going to talk about his situation because his was unique.
I do have a video for that before you get into the details of it.
You got the video of him pressing?
Well, kind of. It's Comedy Central's take on it, but
you want to save it?
I'm down to watch it. No, it has to be saved for the After Dark, or else Comedy Central will flag it, and we can't put the video up on YouTube.
That's true.
So join us on After Dark.
Yeah. If you want to join us on the After Dark show, that link right over there, patreon.com/Boogeyman Radio. We always do another hour of show after this. We do it just for our patrons because we love you. Again, if you want some sweet ass teas like this, it's not paranormal, it's paratainment. Or our Boogeyman Radio shirt that Charles is sporting over there, you can jump on the hauntinghistory.threadless.com site, get you a t-shirt, get you some merch, hats, socks, pants, pillows, shower curtains, whatever. Get you some merch, and everything that you do helps support us here on the channel. And just let you guys know, we greatly appreciate it. Charles, we don't have anything for next week. So,
well, I'm sure we could find something.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a list here of some things, but how do you feel about doing a conspiracy?
Let's do it.
Okay,
I'm always down with that.
Let's talk about FDA approved chemicals.
Okay, talk about that, or yeah, that works. Yeah. FDA approved chemicals, and how about medicines too? Why not?
Hey, it all falls under the same guideline. So, guys, you want to know what you're
They took
ingesting
our drugs.
in your body next week? We're gonna talk a little bit about that for all you conspiracy nuts. And then you know what? We can do some. We should do a paranormal game night as well.
Yeah, we haven't done one of those in a long time.
You want to do that instead next week?
Ooh, snap! Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm down to do that.
Yeah.
Wait, your paranormal game night? You want to do a game night next week?
Yeah. Why not?
All right, cool. Let's do it.
I think that'll be good. Let's do a game night.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, again, guys, we will be moving to our to a new YouTube page, but hopefully everything transitions well. You'll have to go and resubscribe to that one.
We'll still be our fantastic, amazing selves.
Yeah. I will post the page title. Oop. That's what the channel is called, where we will be on YouTube. We're going to change the name of it, of course, to Boogeyman Radio. But that's where we're going to be moving to. Better for us, be better for you. And yeah. Anything you want to add there, Charles, to the...
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
Okay. Man.
What a night.
I'm tired.
Well, yes, have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Been splitting wood all weekend. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yep. Thank you, Kelly. If you want to join us on the After Dark, patreon.com/Boogeyman Radio.
Heck yeah.
Well, if we've got nothing else, like I said, we'll be on the After Dark continuing this with Giles Corey and his pressing and a few gruesome details, if you guys want to catch that. But until then, we will see you guys next week.
Mm-hmm.
Same time, different place. You okay over there?
Oh, I'm great.
You look like you're reading something quite comical.
Kind of.
I can see your interest bubbles. Like,
oh yeah, it's great. I'm can't wait to read this off to you.
okay. All right, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. See you next time.